Let's strip away the modern excuses and look at the raw machinery beneath the skin. You think she walked away because you grew apart, or because she was confused, or maybe even because you weren't supportive enough. You tell yourself that if you had just listened more, yielded more, or been softer, she would have stayed. You are lying to yourself. The truth is far colder and much older than you realize. She didn't leave because you were too hard on her. She left because your softness triggered a biological alarm she couldn't silence. For 200,000 years, a woman's survival depended entirely on her ability to assess one specific variable in a mate: his competence in the face of chaos. In a world of predators, scarcity, and tribal warfare, a man who hesitated, a man who looked for consensus before acting, a man who needed reassurance. That man was not a partner. He was a liability. He was a death sentence. When you act nice, when you defer to her for every decision, when you apologize for taking up space, you think you are being a modern, enlightened gentleman. You think you are showing respect. But her limbic system, the ancient part of her brain that controls desire and fear, sees something else entirely. It sees a man who cannot handle pressure. It sees a man who folds when the world pushes back. And that visceral feeling of repulsion she gets, the sudden ick that she can't explain logically, that is not cruelty. That is evolution protecting her gene pool. It is a safety override screaming that you are not capable of securing the perimeter. You tried to be her friend, her therapist, and her doormat. But she didn't need a friend. She needed a wall between her and the abyss. And when she pushed against you to test your strength, you didn't stand firm. You crumbled. There is a lie you have been fed since you were a boy, a slogan stamped into the modern male psyche. Happy wife, happy life. It suggests that the path to a sustainable relationship is the path of least resistance. Just say yes. Just apologize. Just fix it. We call this the compliance paradox. You believe that if you removed all the friction, you would be rewarded with loyalty and affection. You thought that by suppressing your own needs, opinions, and boundaries, you were making a noble sacrifice for the relationship. But let's look at what actually happened. Every time you agreed when you wanted to disagree, every time you apologized for something you didn't do, just to diffuse her mood, you didn't buy peace. You sold a piece of your dignity. You taught her that your reality is negotiable. You taught her that your spine is made of chalk. You see, women do not experience compliance as love. They experience it as a lack of integrity. When a man agrees with everything a woman says, he isn't being a partner. He is being a mirror, and a mirror offers no guidance, no protection, and no substance. If you cannot say no to her, she instinctively knows you cannot say no to the world. If you fold under the pressure of her disapproval, how will you stand up when life actually gets hard? This constant agreeableness creates a vacuum of respect. She starts to provoke you, not because she hates you, but because she's desperate to find a solid edge. She's poking the wall to see if it's made of stone or cardboard. And every time you smile and accommodate her disrespect, proving you are nice, you confirm her worst fear. There is nobody home. You thought you were being a martyr. To her, you were just being slippery. You became a man who stands for nothing, hoping that if you just behaved well enough, she wouldn't leave. But compliance isn't virtue. It is cowardice wearing a smile. And there is nothing on earth that dries up a woman's investment faster than the realization that the man beside her is afraid of her. There is a silent killer in modern relationships, a poison that accumulates in the gap between your passivity and her exhaustion. You probably call it being easygoing. You tell yourself you're just flexible, that you're happy to go with the flow. But to her, your flexibility feels like a heavy weight. We call this the leadership vacuum. Every time you look at her and ask, "What do you want to do for dinner?" or "Where do you want to go this weekend?" you think you are being generous. You think you are giving her the gift of choice, but in reality, you are handing her a burden. You are forcing her to perform the mental labor of planning, deciding, and executing. You are treating her like the project manager of your shared life, while you sit back like an entry-level employee waiting for instructions. Nature abhors a vacuum. When a man refuses to fill the space of leadership, the woman is forced to step into it. She doesn't take control because she wants to dominate you. She takes control because she panics when nobody is steering the ship. She grabs the wheel because you fell asleep. And here is the tragedy you missed while you were being so chill. She resents you for it. She resents having to be the one who remembers the birthdays, who plans the dates, who worries about the bills, who tracks the trajectory of your lives. She didn't want a dependent, she wanted a partner. She wanted a reprieve from her own decision fatigue. She wanted to relax into her feminine nature, to trust that someone else had the map and knew the destination. Instead, she found herself in a relationship with a passenger. When a woman is forced to lead a man, she ceases to view him as a protector. She begins to view him as another responsibility. She starts to feel like a mother dragging a reluctant child through life. And once that dynamic sets in, once she feels the exhaustion of carrying you, the clock is already ticking down to zero, because she can't respect a man she has to manage. This is the part that confused you the most. The silence in the bedroom. The excuses that started as a trickle and became a flood. She was tired, she was stressed, she had a headache. You thought it was a phase. You thought maybe if you helped out more around the house, if you did more dishes, if you became even more compliant, she would reward you with intimacy. But you were pouring water on a fire you had already smothered. We need to talk about the physics of desire. Attraction is not a negotiation. It is a magnetic phenomenon. It relies on polarity. Think of two magnets. For there to be a connection, a pull, a spark, there must be opposing forces. One positive, one negative, one solid, one flowing. When you abdicated your strength, when you refused to lead, you didn't just annoy her. You flipped the polarity by forcing her to adopt the masculine role, the decision maker, the protector, the leader. You forced her out of her feminine energy. She had to become the hard shell because you insisted on being the soft center. And here is the brutal truth about female sexuality that polite society refuses to tell you. A woman cannot sexually desire a man she dominates. It is biologically impossible. The moment she feels she is stronger than you, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, her desire evaporates. She might love you, she might care about you, she might even pity you, but she will not want you. Intimacy requires tension. It requires a man who can handle her intensity without breaking. But you broke. You signaled that you are safe, harmless, and malleable. And while safe is good for a provider, it is fatal for a lover. You became her roommate. You became her brother. In the darkest moments, you became her child. She stopped sleeping with you because her body refused to betray her instincts. Her biology demands a man who is formidable, a man who commands respect. When she looks at you and sees a man who is afraid to offend her, a man who asks for permission to live his own life, her body closes off. You thought you were being a good husband. In reality, you were chemically castrating yourself in her eyes. You traded your potency for approval, and the cost was her desire. So here we are. You are bleeding out. You are looking at the wreckage of your relationship and asking the question that weak men always ask: how do I fix this? How do I get her back? You are asking the wrong question. You are still operating from a place of scarcity. You are still looking for a mommy to tell you that you are good enough. As long as your sense of worth is tied to her approval, you will remain a slave, and a woman cannot respect a slave. We call this reclaiming the frame. The only way out of this hell is to kill the boy inside you who needs to be liked. You must embrace a ruthless, stoic indifference to the outcome. You have to reach a point where you are so grounded in your own mission, your own competence, and your own reality, that her presence or absence does not change your pulse. This is not about playing hard to get. This is not a manipulation tactic to make her jealous. It is about becoming undeniable. You need to build a life that is so compelling, so demanding of your focus, that a relationship becomes a complement to your existence, not the foundation of it. You must become formidable. A formidable man is dangerous. He is competent. He is self-controlled. He does not ask for respect. He commands it by his very nature. When you stop chasing, when you stop apologizing for existing, when you stop looking to her to validate your masculinity, a shift occurs. You stop being a resource she can exploit and start being a man she must reckon with. But here is the final dark irony. By the time you do the work necessary to become this man, by the time you forge your body, sharpen your mind, and secure your purpose, you won't be doing it for her. You won't even want the old version of her back. You will realize that the woman who left you was doing you a favor. She was the fire that burned away the dead wood. She left a boy. Let her go. The man who remains must walk forward alone, not into the darkness, but into his own light. Stop negotiating. Stop explaining. Build your fortress.